Why doesn't peace you feel in meditation last all day for you? If you've been meditating regularly for weeks, maybe months, and you feel content and peaceful during meditation, but then maybe by mid-morning something happens and you lose it. You lose the peace because simply you react to people, situations, you worry. So the mind starts thinking, worrying, overthinking, planning. This video is for you. I've been there and I know how frustrating it feels trying to quiet the mind, trying to get some peace, and being able to do so in meditation. But then again and again, reacting and thinking during real life or in real life. There is one main reason and only reason why the peace doesn't last. There's only one reason why you do not live in inner peace, in the same peace and contentment you feel during meditation during your regular life. And it's because when you meditate, you're reinforcing the mind. Unconsciously, but that's what is happening. And when you stop reinforcing the mind, then you will see a huge shift, a huge change in your daily life, in how it feels and how you feel during your daily activities. I've experienced it myself. I worked with clients, coaches, and business owners who were putting the effort into meditation and feeling calm and not reacting. And they were able to do so during the meditation. And yet, over and over, they were reacting and worrying, arguing with family members during the day. And when they stop reinforcing the mind, literally within a few weeks, 4 weeks, 6 weeks, the mind quieted down and they felt more and more peaceful and content during the day. So what does it mean that you are reinforcing the mind? Well, first thing to know is that the mind reinforces itself with the perception of time, with the illusion of time, the past and future, right? So, and as I'm talking, try to think what you are doing when you're meditating, okay? Because I'm sure you will catch those subtle nuances that the ego or the mind creates for you to keep you in that ego trap. So first, if you want to stop reinforcing the mind, I would highly suggest, and this is what I suggest all my clients, and they all do it within the first day. Stop using any kind of guided meditations, whether it's a meditation for healing, whether it's meditation for inner peace, whether it's meditation for higher consciousness, any kind of or meditation to connect with your higher self, all those reinforce the false sense of separation the mind creates. Simply said, all those reinforce the ego. And I recorded a separate video where I explain everything, why it's happening and how it's happening, how the mind reinforces itself. And it's a free training, so you can, I will put the link in the description so you can watch it if you want. But all those reinforces the ego. So I'm not going to explain in a depth why it is so, because it's in the training, but just very shortly I will mention that, as I mentioned, ego or the mind reinforces itself with a time perception, right? Time is a mind concept, and time and space, let's say time and space illusion, time and space perception. With this, it creates this false sense of separation, which we call person for you. So any kind of guided meditation that takes you in the future self, in the higher self, connects you with something, creates more and more separation, and hence reinforces the ego. Again, it's in the free training. So that is a first thing I would really highly recommend, and I recommend to my clients, and I stopped doing those 4 years ago. And if you haven't watched my story, I did do a video sharing my story. I spent 10 years meditating and doing all sort of other practices, and I was still reacting, and I had still worrying thoughts and anxious thoughts. And only once I realized that all those were keeping me stuck in the ego, in the mind, and I changed it, then I experienced a huge, fast shift in how I felt during the day. So that would be the first one. So now you're not doing any guided meditation, right? Second thing I would say, and again, it's a very subtle mind trap, is that you don't need special time or special place for meditation. There is so much stigma, I don't know if that is the right word, around what meditation is and also how it needs to be performed. And when you follow that and when you stick to that, again, you are reinforcing the person who is trying to meditate. And that person is trying to achieve something with the meditation. And what it does is it reinforces the false sense of separation. It's how the ego keeps itself alive. And in this case, it reinforces itself as a spiritual ego, right? So you might have not done any meditation, and then someone might have told you, or you saw it online, that to do meditation you need to be sitting in a certain position and in certain asana, and you need to have a certain position of your hands. You can, but you don't need to. So if you're forcing yourself to sit in a certain position and do something with your hands, that is how the spiritual ego reinforces itself. When I personally haven't meditated for the past 2-3 years. I'm simply being aware and being now and here. And that happens, and that can happen for me anywhere. And I will share for you what to do, because you are not, what to do when you are just starting with being aware and with being present. So the mind really quiets down. Because as I said, the mind reinforces, or the ego, the personality, the identity, the false sense of identity, reinforces itself with the time-space illusion. So when you are being present, being aware, here and now, you are taking away fuel from the mind. And when you take away fuel from the mind, over time, the mind quiets down. And when this happens, you simply do not react during the day. You simply do not have worrying thoughts during the day. You stop over planning. It's a different state of consciousness. So you are shifting from the mind, person, ego state of consciousness, which I call mind consciousness, into the awareness, into being. And being is aware of what is happening, and is aware of the mind, and is aware of the ego, but it doesn't identify with it anymore. And the being doesn't react. And because you are more and more in the state of being, and you are not reinforcing the mind quiets down. Again, I go really deeply explaining this in the free training, so check out the link in the description. So first thing, I mentioned the guided one, the guided meditations. Those reinforce the ego, the mind, the personality. Second, any special positions or any special asanas. If you love it, then fine. But you don't need that. You don't need that for true meditation, because true meditation doesn't happen in a chair. It doesn't happen on the sofa. True meditation is living life in the present moment, being aware, and you don't need to meditate at all. So how do you get there? Again, it really comes down to not reinforcing the mind. And as I mentioned, the mind reinforces itself with a time-space illusion. So let's look at the time. Wherever you are, just be there. Be there fully. Right now, you are watching this video, and you can become aware that you are watching this video. And you can become aware that you are hearing my words. And you can become aware any sensations you're feeling, any pain, any stiffness, right now, right here. Not tomorrow morning when you meditate, not some other time, but right now, right here. It's a practice of being where you are. So when I completely discarded all guided meditations, when I completely discarded all the spiritual dogma about inner work and healing and fixing myself, yes, I took time to just be. But with 3 kids and household to run and business and clients, I didn't have 1 hour to sit on the sofa and meditate. And I realized that even wanting that is ego, the ego trap, the mind trap. I will do it when I will have time. So whenever I would probably sit down and have a cup of tea, and I would just sit down and be. I would become aware of any noises that there were coming from inside of the house. So many times we believe, or I used to believe, and I think maybe this is your belief too, that you need to have a quiet place for meditation, but you don't. If you had a quiet place for meditation, why would you need to meditate? There is a quiet place. No, there is no difference between the noises in your head, meaning thoughts, the noises in your body, meaning emotions, and the noises outside, whether it is inside your house or outside of your house. Those are the same. They are the same. They have nothing to do with you. And you can just become aware of it. So what I would do is I would sit, again, no special position, no special time. Any time I would have. Usually it was like in the afternoon. Usually it was in the morning when my kids went to school, and then in the afternoon. And I would just sit and listen. Nothing sophisticated. I wouldn't want to change anything. I didn't try to change anything. I didn't try to listen for something. I didn't try to listen for my higher guidance. At that point, I realized that listening for a higher guidance is the ego trap. Is the spiritual ego reinforces itself and keeping me in the illusion of separation. I simply listened to whatever appeared in my experience, to whatever arose in my experience. And that was a big shift. That alone is a big shift. If you do that, try that for 1 week, twice a day, maybe in the morning and in the afternoon or in the evening. Don't look for a special time. Don't look for special circumstances when the house is quiet. No. Let the kids do whatever they do. Let your spouse do whatever they are doing. You just sit wherever you want to sit and just listen. During the day, you can do it outside. Just become aware of the noises, of the sounds that there are in your experience right now. That is why I'm saying be where you are. That is over and over, I repeat it to my clients. Be where you are. You don't need to move to Tibet to realize inner peace. It may be peaceful there in a monastery, but when you come to real life, back to your real life, with responsibilities, with chores to do, with bills to pay, dealing with relatives, family members, you are right there, back where you were before going to Tibet. That is also how the ego, spiritual ego, reinforces itself, keeping you in the false sense of separation. First of all, reinforces itself, reinforces the illusion of separation, and you keep being trapped in the illusion. You do not perceive that oneness that you are. You may know it intellectually, but you don't live it. And you can absolutely live it. And once you perceive the oneness, which is a natural shift as the mind quiets down, once you perceive it, then the inner peace is just there. You cannot hate anyone when you perceive oneness. You cannot react to anything when you know that there is no separation between you and that which you see, that it all comes from the one source. And this is the source of inner peace. And this is why inner peace cannot come from books. And it cannot come from any teacher. It cannot come from anything outside of yourself or inside of yourself. When we talk about the spiritual ego, don't look for inner peace in your higher self. Don't connect with the wisdom. You are it. And it arises naturally as the mind quiets down. So be where you are for 1 week. Try that for 1 week. Twice a day, 10 minutes. If you cannot do 10 minutes, 5 minutes. But if you've been practicing meditation for some time now, you can do 10 minutes, you can do 15 minutes. But the most important thing to remember is, do not wait for special circumstances. That's ego trap. Just be where you are. I remember that when I realized how powerful being aware is, then I naturally started being aware during my daily life. I would stand in a grocery line and I would just be aware. I would be in the same state as I was in my chair in the living room. Not meditating, just being fully present, listening to the sounds. Just listening to the sounds. And there is always something to listen to. So I would do it in a grocery line. I would do it when I was waiting in a car. I would just be aware and listen to the sounds in the park on my walk. I would just sit down and be aware and just listen. And there were always different sounds. But there is always a sound. Even if it means your family, your spouse watching a TV, or your kids having an argument. It's just a sound. So just be where you are and listen to it. And then when you are outside, there are different sounds. Don't try to change anything. Don't wait for special circumstances. Be where you are. Everything else is ego trap. Everything else is the mind reinforcing itself. And with that, your false sense of separation reinforces itself. So try it for 1 week. And if you want, come back and comment. Comment how it was for you. Comment any challenges, and I can help you more. And yeah, let me know.